if you're going to do it, the audit should be worth it. The problem is, audits are hard. Yet we've issued over 20,000 reports to 2,000 clients worldwide.
We have an adage in auditing, if it's not written down, it doesn't exist.
Cybersecurity and compliance will no longer be a mystery.
Hey everybody, welcome into our Cybersecurity Mission podcast. My name is Allie Krings. I'll be your host, and today we're talking all about data privacy with Viral White. Viral, how are you?
I'm doing just great, Allie.
Good. I'm excited to sit down with you and learn a little bit more. Before we dive into data privacy, I just want to learn a little bit more about you. How did you find yourself in these shoes?
Well, it's kind of an interesting story. I was professionally, I was the director of information technology.
Okay.
And my mother's friend lived in a retirement community.
Okay.
And this was back in the days of AOL. And, you know, they had issues. You know, I was always trying to help them with their computers. And so one of the things that I wanted to do was I started trying to coach them on how to stay safe and secure when they were using the internet. So that's where I first got interested in it. And then later on in my career, I transitioned from the director of technology and I became the information security officer. And I started, you know, focusing on protecting people's data. Because what I wanted to do is I wanted to show people how to keep their data safe and not expose that to the malcontents that were out there preying on, you know, the elderly. And so it just transitioned after that.
Well, and I mean, how many of us, unfortunately, have stories where you hear about this regularly of those personal attacks? And so I commend you on that work because I think it's phenomenal. You've really seen technology evolve then, if you're talking about from the AOL days to today, right?
I have. You know, a lot of people, they ask me, say, well, you know, when did you get started in information technology and data privacy? I said, well, you know, a lot of people say that, you know, back when Moby Dick was a minnow. But in reality, I've only been in the industry for, you know, I'm only 26 years old.
Wow.
You know, it's just information security wears on you.
Viral, you're incredible. So let's just start from the very top. For somebody who's just tuning in and listening to our podcast, we're talking all about data privacy, and I'm going to ask the most basic question. What is data privacy and why should I care about it?
Data privacy is, you know, is protecting your data and making sure that you are in control of your data. You're sharing your data only with those people that you want shared with, and what data you want shared with. You don't share the same data with everybody. You've got certain people that are confidants that you share intimate details with, you know, that are personal and private, and you don't want those being shared with anyone else. So it's that trust that you have. And that's what data protection is all about. It's ensuring the protection of your data so it's only being utilized and it's accessed by the people that you want it to be accessed with, and it's utilized for the purpose that you want it utilized for.
So like a really obvious example today, and I'm sorry you guys weren't here for this, but I came in, I met you, and I was like, oh, I want to get this document printed. But I had to be able to share it with you and give you access to it. Is that kind of what we're talking about?
That's exactly what we're talking about. You authorized me, you know, to use that data and to print that for you.
Wow.
And that's what data privacy is all about. And I violated one of the, you know, components of data privacy by letting you know, access your email on my computer. And you also trusted me to ensure that I didn't have something on my device that recorded your password.
Well, now I'm regretting a lot of this, Viral.
Well, you should.
You know, I'm so glad that we're sitting down. So when it comes to our data privacy, walk us through what this looks like in real life, both for, I think, us personally, but then when we're working for a company, and how does that play a big role?
Well, you know, personally what you want to do is you want to make sure that your data is secure. You want to make sure that, and that begins with, you know, protecting that. If it's protecting, you know, the physical data, your driver's license, your credit card, and documents, you know, you want to make sure that you have those in your possession all the time and you don't let them out of your possession.
Yep.
When you're, from a digital perspective, you want to make sure that your phone is always in your protection. You want to make sure that you have, don't just use a 4-digit PIN on your phone. You want to use a passcode, because a 4-digit PIN, there's, the ability to compromise that
Wow.
it doesn't take that much time. The other thing is setting the phone to where after 10 tries, unsuccessful tries, it will automatically lock your phone and people don't have access to it. Most people don't want to do that because they're afraid. Well, what if I accidentally do that? You're not going to mess up your password 10 times.
Probably not.
Because by the second time you're going to be sitting there going 1, 2, 3, and you're going to be conscious of what you're putting in. So, don't be, intimidated by that type of a function. And same thing with your, you want to make sure that you don't leave it laying on the table when you get up from a restaurant and go to the bathroom, or to go up and refill your Coke, because all it takes is someone to just pick that up and put that in their pocket. And if you were looking at that, your screensaver may not come on. Most people, they don't like to continually put in their password, so they have it set for the longest period of time that they possibly can.
Sure.
So if you just set that down and they picked it up, your system is not locked.
Wow.
So from a personal perspective, you want to ensure that you're in complete control of anything that has your information in it.
Wow. Okay, so then from a company perspective, I mean, how does that play a role, as an employee somewhere?
Well, one of the things that I used to try and get across to my employees and the staff that I have worked with was to, protect the people's data that you're working with on a daily basis the same way you would like them to protect your data.
Ooh.
Okay, so and
Kind of the golden rule.
the golden rule.
Yeah.
Pay it forward.
Yes.
Okay, and that's what you do. So the other things, and the way that you protect that data is to make sure that when you get up and leave your desk, your workspace, for your lunch or to take a break, is that you clear your desk and make sure that that data is put away in a secure location. That you close your door, you lock it if you're in an office. If it's not, you put it in a locked file cabinet, particularly if you're going to be away for a long period of time, attending a meeting or going to lunch, or when you go home at night, making sure that all that data is secured and it's not left out.
Wow. Okay, so talk to us about some of those, controls that we should have in place then, just to ensure that our data is kept beautifully private.
Well, one of the things that you want to make sure that you have, and it's inconvenience. Convenience is the enemy of data privacy. Ooh. Because people don't like to be inconvenienced. They want things right now. They want things to be readily available and that.
Absolutely.
Well, when you talk about security and privacy and the protection of information, it's not convenient because you got to put it away, take it out, put it away, take it out, and you're doing that. Well, it's much more convenient and expedient for me to be able to leave it out. When I come into the office in the morning, it's all out on my desk.
Absolutely.
And that's, so, convenience is the enemy of privacy. So this is what you have to do, is you have to make a concentrated effort, to do the right things.
Wow. A concentrated effort to do the right things. I like that. So let's talk about this when it comes into compliance. Where do you see the biggest gaps in compliance occur?
Since COVID, the impact has been with people being able to work from anywhere.
Oh,
People used to work from home, but because of COVID, people, they worked from home, they worked from Starbucks, McDonald's, they worked from, any cafe that they went to.
Right.
They would work from their parents' home, they would go on vacation, they're working from beaches now. So really, it's not just working from home, it's working from anywhere. So protect, the physical security of the device, because when people are leaving from work or they're leaving from their home to go to Starbucks, the common thing to do is to just go ahead and close your laptop down, and it goes into what they call sleep mode.
Yep.
And you put it in your briefcase or in your computer bag, and you're off to Starbucks. And you open it back up, and all you have to do is put in that password again, and then you're ready to work.
Pops up.
And you're ready to go. Well, the problem is that the protection mechanisms that are in place, they're, when it's in sleep mode, they're not 100% there. It's only protected by your password. It's not encrypted, as if, when you're using full disk encryption.
Sure.
And you don't have all those countermeasures in place. So that makes your device easily susceptible to someone, the hackers that you see on TV, breaking into your computer because it's just in a sleep mode. So you want to make sure that you want to, actually turn it off, and that way it's got the full protection of technology behind it.
So is that also to say, I mean, you go to all these public places and obviously you want to have Wi-Fi to be able to work easily. When you connect to somebody else's Wi-Fi, is that an area where, maybe a little bit of an alarm should go off and remind you, hey, maybe not the safest place to start looking at your personal data and whatnot?
Well, you're in Starbucks and it is a public Wi-Fi.
Right.
So now you're going to be transmitting your private information over a public wireless network.
Is that really a problem?
Well, it depends on how sensitive your information is and how important it is to
Okay.
you to keep it secret and keep it, within the confidence of the group of people that you want it shared with.
Yeah.
So yes, it is. So what you would want to do is you want to make sure, and most organizations, they put a VPN, virtual private network, that encrypts that connection from point to point, from your laptop, through that wireless network in Starbucks to the ultimate endpoint. And so that way it's encrypted and it's only being seen by the people that you want it seen by. Now, and the other thing is that you want to make sure that you're using a multi-factor authentication.
Like the cell phone, they text your cell phone or something.
Exactly, multi-factor authentication. So when you put in, it's going to prompt you for either a digit from one of the authentication devices, or it's going to give you a code, a 4-digit code that you type in that changes. It's a one-time password and it changes randomly. It's only good for, you've got 30 seconds to put it in, and then it changes to another one.
So a lot of times when, and I think about this with so many different, like your banking information or other private information, they'll give you those other questions. And they're oftentimes like the same things, like what was the name of the street that you grew up on? What is your mother's middle name? When we're going through that process and choosing our passwords, but then also our kind of secret words, should we lose that password, do we need to be changing those regularly?
Well, you don't really. You should change them, regularly. Maybe once a year.
Okay.
But the biggest thing is when you're setting up the answers to your personal questions, lie.
Oh.
Don't tell them, okay, when it says, where did you go to high school at? Well, I went to high school at, XYZ.
Sure.
Where did you go to college at? I went to, the University of Florida. Well, now they've got a data point that they can start looking for, your information, because they'll go to your Facebook and they're going to find out, okay, where did you go to college at? Well, I went to the University of Florida. And so what you do is you put in there, say, where did you go to high school at? I went to Harvard. Because you're not going to be penalized for that. Nobody knows where you actually went, so you can put anything. You can answer those questions any way you want. So and don't when it says, okay, where did you go to college? Don't tell them where you went to college. Put the name of your first car in there.
Interesting. I never would have thought to do that. This has nothing to do with you ordering a coffee yesterday, does it?
Well, yeah, it does, because one of the things that I do when I go into, any place that's asking for my name, because they want to give you that personal experience when you're being waited on. What is your first name?
Yep.
Well, my name is Tom. And the reason why I do that is because I really only need to have 3 data points in order to begin my attack on your privacy and my theft of your information.
Wow.
I need your name. I need your where do you live?
Yep.
And I need your age.
Wow.
So, if we're standing in Starbucks or whatever, it's very easy. Everybody wants to wants to converse with someone. So I strike up a conversation with you.
Sure.
Okay. Boy, it's really slow today. Is it like this all the time?
Oh no, I live just down the street.
Exactly. So really, what Starbucks do you normally go to? I go to the one in this town. Well, I know that I can look up and I know that I get the zip code of that town.
Yep.
So I'm going to introduce myself to you. Hi, my name is Tom Johnson.
Oh, hey, Tom Johnson. My name's Allie Krings.
Great. Now I've got your name.
Yep.
So I've got where you live, I've got your
Okay.
name, and I'm a fairly, I got a pretty good record of being able to guess someone's age within, probably a decade. That doesn't
Okay.
take much. So now I can go to that zip code. I can look for someone with your name. And I can look, and then I can narrow it down by your age, and pretty soon I've got the information I need to focus on you and begin to steal your identity.
Wow. How crazy is this? It's all these small interactions that you don't even realize make a really big impact in your day-to-day.
And that's true. And it's not just your personal information, because now that I know that
Yeah.
information, I will focus on you because I know that you work for XYZ company.
Sure.
So I'm going to find out, where do people go to lunch? Where do they stop for breakfast? Where do they do this? Is there a Starbucks nearby? And I'll sit there and I'll wait and see, and I'll find someone, and then I'll strike up a conversation with them, and
Interesting.
everybody wants to share information.
Wow. Yeah.
And that's the thing. And you can be polite and you can be sociable, but you don't have to tell people your life story. I get people that tell me too many things when I'm talking to them in the course of a conversation. I don't want to know that much about you, because if I do,
Yes.
it's just my nature to try and put up walls to protect things, and I try and protect people. And then if they're being too
Yeah.
verbose, I'll just say, listen, you really should hold back and not tell everybody all these things.
Wow. Just fascinating to think about this in a real world perspective. Let's dive into, some examples of companies who both might need to build up a more robust program for their data security, but then on the flip side of that, maybe somebody who's doing it extremely well.
Well, one of the things that, there's certain things that you need to do to ensure the security of the information that you're doing, particularly in today's world where people are working from so many different places. You want to protect data where it lives, and you want to start at the furthest point out, starting with the people, because you start out with the people, and if it's secure where they're working on it and they're accessing that data, then that's where your foundation is. So you start out with multi-factor authentication, strong passwords,
Okay.
and then you have the VPN connection that they have.
Yep.
So that ensures that. Now, from the organization's perspective, they want to make sure that system stays current with the patches and all the security updates that are needed to ensure the integrity of the system, because when Microsoft comes out with a new patch or a security update, you want to make sure that you get that installed. So they have to be able to manage that. So there's a solution, and it's called mobile device management. We refer to it, we like acronyms.
Okay.
So it's an MDM.
Oh.
So we want to make sure that they have the ability to remotely manage and support and ensure that those systems are up to date. So now that I know that you're securely logging on and your connection from your work location, wherever it's at, is secure from there back to the organization that's collecting the information about you, then it's making sure that your device stays current and up to date and constantly secure.
Yeah.
So that's the management.
So when it comes to putting these controls and policies in place, how can a company get started by doing this, and how can they ensure that their employees are updating them regularly?
Well, you brought up a very key word there, policies. Okay, you start out with a policy that sets the expectations for the workforce, and you've got a policy that says this is what you need to do, this is how you need to proceed. Then you develop procedures, and then it's up to the organization to make sure that those procedures are enforced that support the policy. So policies is the foundation of information security, data protection, and you've got to have those in place.
So why, might be a really silly question, but why do they have to be written down? Why can't it just be, kind of the obvious rule or the unspoken rule of, obviously when your computer reminds you to update Microsoft Word, just do it?
Well, one of the things that we have an adage in auditing, if
Okay.
it's not written down, it doesn't exist. Okay?
I like that.
Because how can you prove to me that you do these things if it's not written down, if it's not documented?
Yeah.
And then if it's not reviewed on a consistent basis, on an annual basis, at minimum, then, how can we say that you're staying current and up to date? Because with information security, things are changing so rapidly in this industry,
Right.
that it's got to be reviewed to ensure that it's current and up to date, and you're using best practices.
Wow, it's so fascinating to think about all the little things that we can do. One of my last things that I would just want to mention is I know so many people listen to our podcast, thinking about their own lives, their own companies. What are some maybe interesting findings or words of encouragement that you would want to share with somebody else looking to ensure that their data privacy really is compliant and the best it can be?
Well, from an individual's perspective, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you consistently have your check your credit and make sure that your credit is what you expect it to be, that no one else is using it. So, at a minimum of twice a year, running a credit check.
Cool.
And if you have children, run a credit check on your kids.
Interesting.
People say, well, why would I want to do that? They don't need that. Well, if I was a nefarious person, one of the things that I would do, it would be to target children, because, no one's running a credit check on them.
It's
so
true.
I could steal their identity and I could run up, hundreds of thousands of dollars of credit until they've graduated high school or probably college before they even go to apply for a loan and find out that their credit's ruined. So, constantly checking your credit. And then from an organizational perspective, it's reviewing your controls and making sure that the industry accepted practices are in place and being implemented. And that's where the auditors come in, because if someone's checking you, you do a little better job. And so that's what our job is. We're not there for a punitive action to be like some people say, they fear the auditors. We are actually there to help, because what we want to do is we want to help people implement the practices that will keep them out of the news and off the internet.
That's everybody's dream. Viral, this was so much fun. Is there anything else you want to add on about data privacy?
Data privacy, the easiest thing to do is just to keep current and keep vigilant.
Yeah. Well, I called you Viral, but I think we established it was Tom Johnson.
It's Tom Johnson.
Tom Johnson. So, Tom, thank you again so much for sitting down with me. This was such a treat.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.
When you work with a Kirkpatrick Price cybersecurity auditor, you work with someone who's been in your shoes. Let's see what the next expert is ready to share to support you in your cybersecurity mission.
Hello, my name is Greg Halpin. I'm a lead practitioner and information security auditor at Kirkpatrick Price. And I've been in information technology and security for over 20 years. The one thing I really like to do is share my knowledge with new individuals in cybersecurity and with clients about resources. There's so many resources out there, it can be overwhelming to know where to go, what to follow. So I recommend to my clients and colleagues that they take a look at the Information Security Controls document, and it is from the Center for Internet Security. It's 18 information security controls and sub-controls. It's a high-level, concise document that executives can understand, but also has details in it that information security professionals can run with to protect their environments and data and protect their customer data. So if you're looking for a resource, I recommend you start with that. And also contact us at Kirkpatrick Price and let us know how we can help.
If you want to prepare for success with information security policies, visit kirkpatrickprice.com/podcast or the show notes to download today's episode resources. We're here to empower you to face your cybersecurity and compliance challenges. Are you ready to join a community of 10,000 people who are working together to elevate the standards for cybersecurity and compliance? It's free to sign up at kirkpatrickprice.com/podcast or check the show notes and achieve greater levels of assurance today. Thanks for joining us on our cybersecurity mission.